Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce with coaches Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson, where we are delving into the realms of leadership and coaching. Join us as we sit down with remarkable leaders and coaches, and today we have one, uncovering their unique insights and strategies that make them truly exceptional. We'll explore the question, what is your secret sauce and and how did you know? Unveiling the hidden ingredients behind their success. Are you ready? Well, let's get started. Before we begin, a quick shout out to our season sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, where they believe that your character is the compass guiding you through life's journey. Whether you're facing personal or professional challenges, they are dedicated to helping you discover and strengthen the core values that define who you are. Dave, this is a special episode for us and for you, I think. Why don't you go ahead and give us a little preview of what we have today?
I am so excited to welcome my friend and former colleague, Elliott, who is an absolutely fabulous coach. And we have a good bit of history together. So I'm excited.
We
Welcome,
do.
Elliott.
Hi there. Hi there. Lipsky, it is an honor to be on your podcast. Matt, thank you for the opportunity to be here as well. I'm really looking forward to it.
So one of the first times I experienced Elliott is when he got up at a session in around Suwon, Korea, and introduced himself, and he was helping to lead a task force. And I just remember his introduction, and my experience of you, Elliott, was this guy's got so much positive energy. Like he's a light. Like I really liked you radiated it. And the task force, which is if you ever travel internationally and you're doing task force, you're waking up, you're working on things,
Mm-hmm.
you're every day, same thing. You need that energy to keep going. And Elliot absolutely
Yeah,
provided it. So I wanted to reflect back and thank you. And
I appreciate that.
absolutely. And
Yeah, I appreciate
and
that.
also, since that time, Elliot's gotten married, had a baby. Life has evolved, and it's so exciting that you're back
Yeah.
in the States and you're coaching. So we're gonna explore a little bit about
Mm-hmm.
your secret sauce in coaching. And I like to start out with an exercise of energy level. So on a scale from 1 to 10, what is your energy level at this moment?
All right. My energy level is a 10. You all have warmed me up very well in our pre-call uh, uh, fun and games. Um, and yeah, I'm into it.
That is awesome. And Matt, how about you? Where's your energy level right now?
Yeah, I'm probably 8.5.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Very
Okay.
nice.
yeah,
Again,
kind of a little bit.
positive energy way over top.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've been up since really early. I traveled this morning, but yeah, I was really excited to be here this morning too.
That's awesome. I'm thinking I'd say 9, which is one of the
Okay, good.
higher energy levels that I've talked about that I've shared like over the podcast, right? And I think part of it is like reconnecting, familiar face, and it is absolutely beautiful here in Orange County, New York. The sun is out. It is 78 degrees, and I kind of feel like I'm living in San Diego for maybe a couple of days. You
Oh
know,
wow.
I'll enjoy it.
Lucky you. Lucky you.
Very. I absolutely feel privileged. I'm gonna turn it over to Matt to ask the first question.
Okay, so Elliot, we will typically kick it off. Like, if you were to describe, what is your secret sauce?
Okay. My secret sauce, and this is related to coaching, but I think it kind of leaks into all areas of my life, and that would be showing up with vulnerability. And I lead with vulnerability because there is a lot that I've experienced in life that I would love to share. And I think that helps people share what they've been through, the challenges that they are having, and it opens up a conversation. When I say I have had a lot of experience in my life, I have. And I am not bragging. It's not even a humble brag. It is more of an admission, right? And so as people are going through tough spots, I'm able to meet them where they are and they feel that they they feel and they know that they have someone that they can relate to and share things with.
Yeah, that's really good. How and when did you know? How did it come about?
Hmm. I so I think it was several years ago, when my sisters, my younger sisters, who are very much adults now, but when they were in their teenage years, I realized that it was a rare occasion when they would come to me looking for advice or counsel or to complain. Um, and I relished those moments. And the first couple of times, I would lead with, well, here's what you should do, and you should watch out for this person, giving advice. And I realized that that didn't work. And so the next tack that I tried was really to be curious and ask questions. And so as they were speaking, I would empathize. I would share my own struggles, my own situations, scenarios that were tangential or overlapped with what they were experiencing. And I would let them speak. I wouldn't worry about offering advice. I would give them the floor. And I realized that vulnerability could get me further than trying to be an expert. I realized that vulnerability could take me deeper than trying to lead with advice. And that's where I think I got the coaching itch as well, because from my younger sisters, that extended to my colleagues and my friends and other family members working through their own struggles. So I would say several years ago. How old are they now? How old am I? That was probably 15 years ago. 15 years ago.
Wow.
Impossible. Then you started
I,
coaching when you were 8 years old.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Right.
a yeah. I,
Yeah, that's right. I'm only 23.
you know what, you said something. So, um, maybe you could share with us a little bit about that itch, that coaching itch. Like, what? How did you know it was like that itch was coaching?
Mm. Well, I grew up coaching. Well, first, I was close to my athletic coaches because my dad coached me. So I had this kind of sports coaching awareness and exposure. And I realized that my dad and high school coaches, there's a difference between good coaches that really pour into you and help you learn and support you, and bad coaches that cut you down, and give you a hard time. And from being coached, I began coaching in sports. So I coached my younger sisters in basketball, and we won several championships. So I really enjoyed that. That is a brag, not an admission. And then I coached at my MBA program. We had a women's intramural basketball team, and I coached them. And during this time, I'm realizing that it doesn't have to just stay in the coaching realm. People need coaching in other areas of their life. You coach in sports to get better and to capitalize on the strengths, skills, and desires that you already have. And you have an opportunity to work with a coach to develop new things. The same thing applies in life, at work, in relationships. And those were the conversations that I was having, um, kind of outside the sports realm, outside of family, with colleagues, with classmates, and hearing their challenges and problems and helping them through it. I realized that, I've this feels familiar to me. I'm a steady presence. I can lead with vulnerability. I can help them grow by walking alongside them instead of sitting across from them.
Yeah, you've gone really deep into relationships and helping people in
Mm,
relationships across different areas of their life, and
yep.
it's fascinating to hear your coaching with sports. So, what is the relationship between performance and relationships for you as you look across those different areas you worked in?
Performance and relationships. Oh, I think there's a huge connection around forward progress. So with performance in sports, at work, and leadership, you want to be getting better every day. Your skills, you want to be developing them in a way that they will take you further. They will help you solve the problem more quickly. In love, in relationships, you are looking to love better, relate better, listen better. When's the last time you went into a listening class or a relating or, um, you know, really supporting people through their problems, fears, insecurities, especially around relationship? When's the last time you went into a class like that? And so we're not seeing the same attention being paid to relationships, to love, as we are with executive coaching or leadership or sports and around performance. But you really do want to be getting better in relationships. I should be striving to get better for my wife, for my young son every day. If I'm the same in 5 years as I am today, then I've really missed an opportunity to grow with them because they're having new experiences and they would be leaving me behind. So I think that's one connection point. The desire, well, the need, and hopefully the desire to continue getting better.
Yeah, it's interesting because I don't know, Matt probably and Elliot, you face this. I'm sitting across from a leader, and it's an experienced leader, been doing it for a while, and I'm looking for their motivation to change it up, to bring something
Mm,
new,
mm,
right? And it almost feels like they're a little bit tired,
hmm.
and I'm looking for that energy. How do you help like that kind of leader find that mojo, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word?
Yeah. I think it starts with a question, and it can be phrased in different ways, but it's really, what are you here for? Why are you doing this? If someone sits across from you, a leader that you coach, Lipsky, and they say, you know what, this is a cushy job. I don't think I'm going to get fired. The board likes me. I'm just here um, to collect my paycheck and give a good life to my family. Their desire for performance is probably not as high as the person sitting under them trying to get their job. So it starts with what the intention is, what the aim is. Now, for a leader that has been successful to date, they've grown in their organization, they've grown in their capabilities, but maybe their role is stagnating. Maybe because the company isn't expanding as much as they would care to expand, they've hit a wall, right? Then you have to explore with them, what are their intentions in their role? Why are they here? What are they working for? And what are they working towards? And then you help them create opportunities to to get that growth in other ways. And it might not be, excuse me, in their job description. It might not be what they've agreed with their peers or direct reports, but it is something that can be innovated in their role that allows them to stretch a little bit, right? So maybe it's, hey, you don't spend a lot of time communicating with your entire organization or your entire team all at once. And you have shared with me that you want to continue growing as a public speaker, or you want to continue having an impact and influence on bigger groups of people, larger groups of people. Then how can we engineer situations and circumstances where you can have an opportunity to speak, or you can record a video and motivate and encourage large groups of people? No, it's not in your job description. And if you never do it, the company's not going to suffer for it, but you are suffering by not doing it. And I think that's the key. It's getting creative with those leaders, collaborating, brainstorming, and letting them do most of that work, right? Because they have the answers. Sometimes there's just an apprehension to what the solution is, and they need the cosign, so to speak, because their interests are swirling around in their heads, and they need someone like you, Lipsky, like you, Matt, to say, no, 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 that's a good idea. Let's flesh this out a little bit more. Tell me more. What would that look like? what benefit would that provide the team? What benefit would that provide you? And so taking them down a path like that would be a good start in my mind.
It almost seems like you're creating
Mm,
heat, right?
mm,
Like shining light or creating heat on whatever, you know, like to kind of get them. I think your role as a coach would be is to create the heat or shine the light in order for them to want to move off of where they
mm,
are. Because I really like your analogy of like, okay, so the difference between performance coaching or even the relationship side is I have to create some sort of discomfort in order for someone to want to move away from that. And
yeah,
I hadn't thought about it in
yeah,
that way until you kind of described it.
yeah. And
So
can I back
yeah,
up 1 second? I'm going to back up
sure.
1 second because I wouldn't even say it's creating discomfort. The discomfort is often already there. I would
Mm,
say it's helping them recognize and admit the discomfort, to claim the discomfort and voice it out loud. Because, and that's where good questioning and curiosity comes from. That's where providing examples and anecdotes and stories that help them kind of see their role and their position in a different light, that's where that comes in. And so if we can help them witness their own discomfort and realize, huh, I'm not super happy with how things are progressing. Or this comfort is actually this false consolation of sorts. Then we're able to help them identify the path forward through that creativity and collaboration that I was mentioning before. But yeah, that's a great way to put it, Matt. That's the only tweak that I would make.
Yeah.
it's good.
I like that
Yeah.
because it's very interesting. And I had two questions floating over my mind while you were talking, and one of them is that cross cultural? Like is that same?
Mm,
Like is it different? You've worked a lot in Eastern cultures.
mm. Yes, I would say there is a cultural element there. And I am going to broaden the aperture a little bit on culture because it could be a Eastern versus Western culture. I think you're referencing our time in uh, Korea, right? I spent several years in Korea working with global leaders in offices around the world. And there's definitely differences between how Korea does business and communicates and how someone sitting in the US or France or South Africa communicates and does business. I also think there's some nuance between culture and, I sorry to say, I realized this recently. Um, there's there's cultural differences right under your nose. I was coaching um, a client around a transition, right, and that's a lot of the work that I do: making big changes, making better decisions, and navigating transitions. Her transition was around, hey, the company's in tumult. I think this is an opportunity to go get my MBA. And she went through the steps. She joined a pre MBA prep program. She did the work. And at the end of the day, despite getting a full ride scholarship, she was not able to go get her degree. Why? Well, she's first generation and she is um, supporting her family. And even though she can go to school for free, a full time MBA doesn't really allow you to work. It's not very conducive to working, right? And so, even though she's not expending much money, the income isn't there to be able to support the family. And so, that's a different cultural context as well, right? Who's supporting their family? Who has many kids? Who is new to the country or has immigrated? Um, who has um, difficulties with learning or being vulnerable? How do they process information or um, engage in conversation? Sniffing that out in the beginning and seeing what the true concerns are and the differences between you, the coach, and your coaching client is super important to being effective. And so the cultural piece, Huge impact, right? Huge impact across borders, but also within our own borders, working with different people because everyone is unique.
Yeah. Does it?
Yeah, that may even be, yeah. Just I was just gonna say, didn't think about that. Like, you have maybe sort of multiple income earners in the home. Hey, look, what else do we need to think about that we're not thinking about it, or
Yeah,
just we
it's
would assume, like, oh, well, you're given a full ride, just go for it, and that's just not
yeah,
possible
It's
sometimes.
interesting, right? Because like the
yeah.
I'm picturing a question that I often get into with coaching people who are learning to coach, and I ask the question, okay, you need to coach somebody from a certain culture or a race or a background.
Mm,
Um, do you
mhm.
need to be that background? Do you need to be that race? Like, is it easier? And I'm putting the question in there because
Mm,
I it's going to create a good challenging dialogue,
yeah.
right?
Oh, it's
And
so
then I say,
so
all right,
good.
so you
It's
have
so
to choose a
good.
coach.
Yeah,
Who do you want that coach to be? What do they look like? What's their
yeah,
background? Very interesting, right? Because the
yeah,
in one sense, when I
yeah.
ask that question, oh, you're a coach, you should be able to coach anybody. And then when I ask, who do you want to coach you? I'd feel more
Hmm.
comfortable with somebody that looks like me, talks like me, and is from my country.
Mm, mm, mm.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a great point. Can I jump in on that?
Please, and
Because
answer it for yourself, Elliot, if you would.
okay. So I think this is tricky. This is super nuanced, and I think it really comes down to the skill level of the coach, and I'm measuring skill level by their ability to meet the client where they are, ask good questions, and save judgments and expectations during their sessions, right? So they're coming in with a blank slate. Those are kind of the prerequisites. And of course, um, learning the core coaching skills is important as well. But the reason why I said that's tricky and nuanced is what I find you get a room full of black men. I am a black man, and we automatically think we know where the other is coming from. Automatically. So our language changes, our vernacular, um, the shows we talk about, the music we talk about, the experiences that we share switch. Right now, if you put me in a room full of um, folks that are not black men, a mixed group, or even a room of um, folks from a different country, I'm going to speak about different things and I'm going to make less or fewer assumptions about what I know about them and what I think they care to talk about. It's called code switching. Now, if you are a coach, and I'll use myself, so black guy here, if my coach, a black male, which I am currently coaching with a white female, right? And she is awesome. But if my coach was a black male, then what I would really be looking for is not to prove that they are just like me and share my blackness and experience, but to still check for or to seek confirmation on how I experience things. They don't really know how I grew up. Who did I grow up around? Which schools did I go to? Who are my friends? Are they black or something else? Are they men or something else? And so being able to, again, start from zero on a blank slate could make that black male coach effective with me. But making assumptions around what I care about and the music I listen to, or the shows I watch, or the challenges that I'm having at work, he he might miss an opportunity to learn about me and coach me effectively. That's what I would be looking for in a coach for myself. That's also what I seek to be for others. So if I'm coaching a black male, which I coach a few of them, I am trying to see where they are coming from, what their life experiences have, or how their life experiences have brought them to the place they are now. And if I'm coaching with a white female or a Korean, right? Because I coach some Koreans. I have relationships from my previous employer. It's all different. And while I can say, hey, we have shared experiences, I remember having a scenario where, you know, I had a Korean manager do XYZ, right? That may help me relate to my client. But I only offer that when I see that it is relevant and pertinent to the issue that they're having, as opposed to saying, "Hey, I know all about this. Let's start from my knowledge base and see what you can learn from where I've been." Right. So does that answer your question? Did I go deep enough for what I would choose?
Yeah, that's great. Actually, it was yeah, really good.
Okay.
Just it, yeah. It kind of actually also it goes back before. Um, it's almost like before vulnerability. Then I need to like be willing to ask all these questions,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
right?
exactly it. It's
So to
it's
me,
it's
that's
curiosity.
really yeah. It's like this curious because I'm not. I don't want to assume whatever it
Yeah.
happens to be, and I may be assuming something when I share vulnerably first,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Like that
Yeah.
that to me was like that light bulb moment.
That's a
Like
great
if I
point.
just want to go, hey, look, I want to just share vulnerably, and I'm like, but wait,
Yeah.
like with a client, I may be assuming something,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
And you
yeah,
might be assuming that they're ready for that or interested in that
yeah,
vulnerability too. And you've got to sniff that out as well.
It's
Um,
yeah,
yeah,
no, that's a
yeah.
mm,
great point. That's a great point.
yeah.
And I just wanted to, Lipsky, before you jump in, I wanted to add, like, so that it is on air, Lipsky has coached me since our colleague days.
Mm,
And Lipsky doesn't look like me, but in a lot of ways, he thinks like me. Right? Oh, okay. Yep, we've got the beard going on. All right. So there's some overlap. But I think it's one thing that Lipsky does particularly well is he lets me go first. And it's what do I need? And what solutions do I already have half baked? What paths have I walked down? What have I tried? And then he uses that information to bridge to relevant scenarios, anecdotes, or just questions that might tease out more of what will help me in the moment. So thank you, Lipsky, for being an amazing coach. Although sometimes I just really want you to give me the answer and you don't, and it's infuriating. But that's okay because that's not necessarily coaching. But yeah, you're awesome. I
I,
appreciate you.
it's thank you so much. And I just had a connection back to something that we were talking about before with relationships. Is anytime you assume you know what the person's going to say next, the red flag,
Yeah,
right? It's like you
yeah,
can't, if you complete somebody's sentence, if you complete the thought, if you make an assumption, that's the toxicity for relationships, the kryptonite.
yeah, yeah. I'm actually in divinity school right now, which adds an interesting flavor to this coaching journey that I'm on. And my professor last night, um, we were doing an exercise around questioning, and she reiterated to us that any question that we ask, we should have no idea what the answer will be. If we can predict what the answer is, we shouldn't ask that question because it's a closed question. So that goes to your point, Lipsky. You should really not assume or lead your client in that conversation in your line of questioning.
It's so tempting because
So
Elliot says,
tempting.
just give me the answer. Like, I know
Yeah,
you did this before,
yeah.
but
Absolutely, exactly that.
that's awesome. Good, Matt.
I was just going to ask for a few resources that you would recommend um, that that may be really that you've found really the most helpful for you.
Mm. Okay, so one thing that I really, really enjoy and find value in is learning more about not only myself, but people and what makes people tick. And so, if I were to share some resources, um, one, so my coach, uh, really early in our sessions, she shared the book A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle with me. Amazing book around deciphering the your identity and ego and what that makes you think about yourself, and staying in the present moment. If you haven't read it, I recommend you do. It can get a little heavy at times, but hunker down, read through it. It's an amazing book. So I love that, and it's changed the way that um, I give people a lot more grace because I realize that the ego, or thoughts that we can't really control, but that we're used to having, are often behind the wheel. So that's one resource. The other is Anything by Caroline Mays, and Caroline Mays is her last name is spelled Myss, and she wrote Anatomy of the Spirit. But I was first introduced to her through a podcast, Oprah's Super Soul, and she was talking about purpose and how to find your purpose. And she said that a lot of folks are frustrated in feeling like they're not walking the path to their purpose because they're living a life or pursuing goals that don't belong to them. And then, the conversation progressed, and she said, how can you get to your purpose, or how can you, make progress toward that? And she says, have no expectations, no judgments, and no need to know what happens tomorrow. And if you remember, I definitely referenced that like earlier in this conversation: no expectations, no judgment. So I love that. And then lastly, I would say Brene Brown, vulnerability, right? Those are the types of authors and speakers that I really enjoy because I think they meet me where I am and allow me to go even deeper. Right now, I'm rereading Braving the Wilderness, and it's a great eye opening experience. But she has many books. If you haven't read any, check her out on YouTube. That's a quick introduction to her. So, Brene Brown, Caroline Mays, and Eckhart Tolle.
I was I have Silence Speaks, which is the sutras from the New Earth, Eckhart Tolle's sutras.
Yep.
That's my bedtime listen,
Yeah.
which is to purge everything that I'm holding on to during the day and let
Oh, that's
go and
amazing.
go to sleep.
You guys share that with me.
Absolutely, yeah. One of my
Yes,
I
please.
love Eckhart Tolle. He's awesome.
Yeah.
What's interesting? Just reflection. So I'm like I am I see a similar energy and openness to learning with you and Matt, and
Hmm.
I like hanging out with people that are eclectic learners, right?
Yep.
There's like very little judgment. I'll go to divinity school. I'll try some Buddhism from
Right.
Eckhart. I'll right, and
Yeah.
I love that, and I think it's such an important um, such an important piece for being a good coach is to not judge any learning and try to experience it and take that in, because that's kind of what we're trying to reflect back. And
Right.
I want you to be my coach, Elliott, because I've never felt any judgment from you.
Mm.
I've always, and every conversation is, you take things in through a positive light, and
Okay.
you transform it into a productive conversation without judgment. Like it's not nothing gets toxified
Wow.
in our conversation. So I appreciate about
Wow.
you.
That
Yeah.
is the highest praise. Lipsky wants me to coach him. After we're done with this episode, I'll see if you really meant it, and I'll offer you my
Send him a
services.
proposal. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. I'll send you an invoice.
Send me. My wife
Um,
has all my money, so go ahead, send it to her.
I'll copy your wife. But no, that is the highest praise because I really do find so much value, um, enjoyment, humor, uh, all of the good things in our relationship. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Mm. Yeah, and I'll just add my own personal reflection. I think it was well, to me it was that light bulb moment around the vulnerability, but just the curiosity that would I always have assumptions
Mm,
about it's very situational, like, oh, go into it, but I'll like try to figure things out beforehand. And
Yeah.
I think that actually limits my curiosity as a coach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In terms of, I know there's a certain amount like, hey, look, I need to do my research. But I think there's that, just the acknowledgement like, hey, look, I really want to be curious before I start sharing something, or, recognizing that my research can actually create assumptions unintentionally.
Yeah.
And yeah,
It's
and
so
that's
true.
really, yeah, not as helpful as a coach versus being just truly curious,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I really want to know. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
thank
have
you.
to remind myself, and school is really helping. I learned this first semester. It's like, Elliot, you just don't have all the answers. It's impossible for you to have all the answers. It's prideful to think that. And so when you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers, it's very easy to take the learner's position, even when you are the coach and you're sitting across from a client. You can still take the learner's approach and learn about them, their concerns, and what's important for them and how they want to move forward. So, yeah, that was a great point, Matt.
In addition to me signing up for Elliott's coaching services, how would you like the audience to get in touch with you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing?
Okay, thank you for that opportunity. So you can visit my website if you're curious about what I do and how help folks get unstuck, especially as they're navigating transitions. Uh, you can see me at middive.com. Mid MID dive DIVE.com is the website, and you can look me up on LinkedIn, connect with me there. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. Elliott Davis, and you can also follow Middive there. And then lastly, you can follow me on Medium, where I try to step into this vulnerability a little more. Right. When I first started, I was very tempted to write about what I thought would sound great, but now I spend a lot more time talking or telling stories and talking about some of the things that have challenged me and some of the things that I have learned in the midst of those things. So, website, LinkedIn, and Medium, great way to connect with me.
That is awesome. I'm fascinated. I have to afterwards. I want to talk to you more about the medium thing. Always interested in different avenues. One, I wanted to just thank you. I'm like so excited to
Yeah.
reconnect, and I really appreciate you coming on to the show. Matt and I, the purpose of this is really to hang out with coaches and learn what helps them do what they do, and this I think is going to be a really valuable session, especially for developing coaches to learn and understand a little bit more.
Yeah.
And with that said, I also want to make sure that our show is supported, and
Cool.
shout out to our sponsor if you are feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Character Matters Coaching and Consulting provides leadership coaching and consulting to empower you to overcome obstacles and reach your full potential. Visit charactermatters.us.com to learn more about their transformative coaching and how to get connected to Matt for your organization. So that closes the loop.
Thank you, Elliot. We really appreciate your time. It's been a real joy.
All
So,
right. Thanks, Matt.
yeah.
Thanks, Lipsky.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. Bye.